Hello and welcome to the latest cast in the 2022 SpyParty Summer Cup. The matches are quarters, but we're only casting doubles, one match per caster, as a matter of fact. I am Warning Track, and I'm joined by the often spy, often caster, and the inventor of the slow cast, Mr. Slappy Davis. Hello.
Oh, very nice. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I mentioned we've got two casts today. In just a little while, we're going to be bringing you Raw versus Screw Loose. But first, it's Martini versus Sauerkraut. I've never had that particular drink with that particular food, and I don't think I'm going to. But hopefully the players pair a little better than their namesakes. Martini, of course, an upcoming player on quite a run here in the Summer Cup, losing just once in the group stages before knocking off Opie Wrights, the three-time Summer Cup runner-up, which is hard to say and even harder to do. And following that up with a 7-5 victory over Guggy to reach today's match. Sauerkraut, on the other hand, had the same record in their group stage matches, but followed it up with a breezy blanking of Iterbijam and an only slightly superior 7-1 against Wobble. And as we sit here in late summer, I note that they also have late summer cup experience, finishing a shocking, at the time, third place in the 2022 Summer Cup. I don't see any reason to wait any longer. I say we get right into this match. What do you say, Slappy?
Oh no, absolutely. I'm no, actually, I think we can actually even take care of the narrative during it because I would say that the big run up has been Martini, as you're saying. But then, other than that, it's these are the players that have been coming up for a while. I want to say there is no Summer Cup champion out of this group, though, right? Like Rob would be. Did Rob win Winter Cup at all? I know he won a
No,
recent cup.
no. No, Rob's highest finish is third in last year's Summer Cup, I believe.
Yeah, there we go. So what's interesting is extremely strong group here, but none that have actually finished first or second in any previous Summer Cups, unless Screw Loose snuck one in that I forget.
No, Screw Loose never has actually. We're going to get to that in the later match too. Screw Loose has really never made it to the finals of any cup. This is one of their deepest runs. In fact, if they win this match later today, it's going to be the second time they've ever made the semifinals in a cup. So big, big stakes for them. But that is later. First, it is Sauerkraut versus Martini. Sauerkraut is the spy first. Sauerkraut is Smallman, and Sauerkraut is Smallman on Redwoods. A horrifying combination of words and concepts. Shall we get into it?
Absolutely.
All right, starting in three, two, one, playing it. He's hard enough to see without all these freaking trees in the way, so this is going to be quite the task for Martini right off the bat.
Yeah, if we had like vertical trees, right, or horizontal trees, I should say, it might be something you could do with there. But yeah, pretty much Smallman is Thin Man would be even best on this
Oh,
one,
it's
I think.
Slenderman. Yeah, Slenderman
Slender-
rather than Smallman.
There we go.
I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
can't
which
even
is
believe I
scarier, to
walked
be
into
perfectly
that.
honest. Oh, yeah, chat reminding me that, of course, Rav won the one tournament I don't have in my data set, which is why I wasn't sure. He did win the previous Winter Cup, which I have yet to process. That is on me. That's what happens when you put things off. Speaking of, not a lot of early progress here for Small slash Slenderman. One third of the flirt done, but it's Redwoods. The mission density is almost off the charts, except for compared to maybe Ballroom.
Yeah, and so we were trying to go for a timer flirt here. So what's interesting about starting with a flirt, going for the timer flirt, is you have the option for kind of like a little, kind of like a little combined rush. You have the ability to do step one of your rush, flirt, and then three for completing up the four missions. But no such luck, and we're just kind of hanging out here because we want to get that sequence in. Or we are paying attention to who is getting inspects. And in fact, our seduction target now is full inspects. Oh, no, no, does not because, well, I guess they could have snuck it in because it's Redwoods.
That's right, because it's Redwoods, and that's one thing I like is that if you're the spy, your seduction target
And
is
the end of
someone you should
red.
always notice. Here's a real contact coming off, by the way. That is a green test, and it's a pretty darn good one too. And you can see Martini not really reacting that much because it's hard to be confident, and almost no one's had a conversation. Wow, no lowlights from that. But going back to the thing about the seduction target potentially completing inspects, you're looking at your seduction target anyway as the spy. So when your seduction target does a lot of spy-like things, you're more likely to notice than you would with a random civilian, which means your seduction target, I would guess, probably a little better framed target than an average party goer.
Yeah, and I would say that we would be okay. The one low light is grabbing a drink, and we're actually looking pretty closely at that. Oh, we're doing a little quick little dodge out for a timeout. Ooh, that path in and out though, I think is going to be noticed. We will actually see if that comes together because I thought that we were maybe going to go all in on a purloin frame, but I think we saw that there's just not enough people taking drinks, and that we have no way to force it and added time, which
And
I think was the
Smallman,
other.
when he was at windows and walking away from it, he was twixt the trees from the sniper's view. He was actually visible, believe it or not. So even though it was quick, even though it was very surreptitious, and it was a green test, which is a big deal, he was visible for it. And you can see a highlight coming onto Queen there at the window. I wonder if we're noticing the time ad now. We're not sure when it happened. Here comes another one. It's white, and we leave right afterwards, and Martini's all over it. I think they were reacting to the previous time ad, knew Smallman was there, and therefore watching it very closely on screen for both of them, though, even on Redwoods.
It is true. And the clock going up after you check your watch is an etiquette tell that Martini just shot for.
Arcane knowledge that the clock should not suddenly jump 45 seconds when you look at your watch. That's the expert sniper play we're looking for from Martini, and that's a big deal. Again, Martini, an upcoming player. Sauerkraut has been on a bit more of a prolonged, successful run, so you don't want to say there's a strong favorite here, but you gotta love getting that early sniper win as maybe a modest underdog, especially on a venue where sniper wins are not anywhere near automatic. Now, speaking of, Sauerkraut has to accomplish the same task. Martini as the spy, playing as Salmon instead of Smallman in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Not quite as tall as Slenderman, but getting there. One of the taller characters in the game. I think maybe right up there with Seek.
It is true.
Sorry. To quickly interject, you were talking about the cup winners. The winner of this match will face the other cup winner previously, Nebula.
Excellent.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah, that's good stakes. All right, so we're jumping in here. So the other thing is that was a very interesting first game from Sauerkraut, in that getting a lot of time ads on Redwoods applies a lot of interesting types of pressure to the sniper, and so I think that not only was it a perfectly valid way to attempt Redwoods, is you get enough time ads, eventually sniper might feel pressure to shoot, but also is going to wear out the sniper pretty early on. But unfortunately, I think it's just going to be a little bit of a confidence boost there, because it's always nice to get a sniper win on Redwood.
Yeah,
little
time
redirect
ads
there.
way more valuable on certain venues than other ones, and very valuable here, where, as you say, just tremendously mentally taxing on the sniper, and it's just so many AIs are eventually going to complete those inspects, and because hard tells are hard to be confident about and bugs are easier to get away with, there's a white time ad, by the way, the longer the game goes on, the more people are going to be potentially done, unless the sniper feels they have bug on lockdown, and really, how can you? That blue book is going right back in the blue bookshelf with the ambassador right next to us, but the book is on our left side anyway, so no risk of the bug, which is going to make the sniper less suspicious, and no indication yet that this time ad was noticed.
And it's interesting is I'm gonna go almost into slow casting mode and like just wax poetic about whether or not the sniping styles are definitely taxing versus Redwoods is like, okay, etiquette versus behavioral. It feels like behavioral is not taxing on the sniper. They'll do that all day. They like it. They're gluttons for punishment. But that a camping sniper, or one that is actually looking at a bunch of different little actions by spies, might be a little bit more taxing long term. But I actually don't know if there's data on that. It'd be an interesting research project.
It would be very neurological. Even we don't have that level of data yet, I don't think, although give it time. By the way, in the meantime, Martini, green fingerprint, that definitely mentally taxing to track on any venue, let alone this one. So you got to imagine, all else being equal, if you don't see any indication otherwise, you just got to assume that that is free. This is a fake contact. I'm not sure what the idea is. Maybe a fair number of people in conversation. I don't understand the logic behind that, but maybe I'm missing something that Martini sees, or maybe it was simply a mistake. Regardless, you got away with that first fingerprint. I'm going to assume 100 seconds left in the game, and they're going for a front-facing statue, and it is fingerprintable, and that explains that.
Absolutely. And I was curious if we were going to go for something like an actual swap in here, but it would be kind of a risky play.
And they do.
Nope, we do it. It is a swap statue. That is the weird thing about the statue. I don't know if there's any other statue gets swapped with this frequency on Redwoods. People love swapping that statue, even though it's one of the more visible ones, because it's one of the most obscured by normal sniper positioning on Redwoods.
Yes, the kind of middle position people want that they feel gives them the best overall look at the bug avenues and things like that. Yeah, the 2 or 3 spots the snipers hang out in the most, it does obscure that. And also, it's the who would swap that kind of thing. And if it's not on screen, at worst, it's going to be a 50-50 if anyone was there recently. They're going to assume it's a green swap.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, if it is a green swap, the sniper has to go into these awkward angles on the whole rest of the map to be able to cover it. Oh,
there we go.
It's just a shot. So it probably isn't fingerprints, because if we were tracking fingerprints, we would have been shot. But Queen, I mean, a lot of people pick up inspects.
Yeah.
But that was the same bookcase. that Queen went to. I don't know if Queen actually ever completed inspects. Did Queen go to one of the other statues?
I don't
I don't
see
think
any
so.
indication of it yet.
I think it was just a
But
transfer then.
well, so if you have highlights and you're sort of using them as for general suspicion and statues potentially, maybe you see the swap and you take that shot. The funny thing is, Martini was about to finish inspects anyway, so one way or another, that game was about to end, and it ends with Martini taking the victory and going up 2-0, and just like that, we are done with Redwoods and we are on to High Rise. You'll notice this format here. This is 3 of 5. Sauerkraut Spy has elected to turn off microfilm. No surprise there. Swap. Sometimes you'll get proponents there. Opie Wrights likes to leave that on sometimes. And inspects off. That's the surprise if there is anyone. Normally you see inspects on, fingerprint off, but this is the new meta. We've seen more and more. Bug and Purloin both on, giving the Spy multiple avenues to rush hardtails at the end of the game. Let's see if that's what happens. Sauerkraut playing as Cowboy in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
It's also a little bit interesting to go back to 3 of 5 because the competitive standard has been this very interesting 3 of 6, but you must have swap or transfer on. It's a little bit controversial to force that choice between swap and transfer. I actually really like it, but now we're back into a spot where the thing about this one is you can really choose to look at a lot of behavioral aspects because you don't force that rotation very much. That was the main thing that was really introduced with the forcing of transfer or swap is rotations. But right now, there's not really a need for rotations except for bug. And I
Right.
guess if Toby's in a really weird spot, maybe you have to rotate a little bit. But you have a lot of space in this setup.
Yeah, that far right statue, it forces people, particularly if there's a potential green swap, it forces them to give up a lot of other viewing angles for a few seconds and creates opportunities for the spy. And sometimes they just go and swap because the sniper refuses to give up the rest of the party to check that swap, and that works too. It's definitely something to think about. The main thing with Toby, I think, is that there are just a shocking number of normal conversation placements where if someone takes a drink, you don't get a good look at the fade. There's just so many of them, not just from where Toby is, but from people's heads blocking it, the occlusion from two different conversations being stacked on top of one another like that. There are so many places where it is really not possible, no matter what the sniper does, to get a good look at that fade, making Purloin really, really powerful. The only surprise really is that it took people this long to sort of figure that out and leave it on. We have inspects, by the way, partial, I should say, or we would if they were on. We did follow our seduction target to statues instead to get that flirt done, but it's only 47%. Kind of a useless number. It's still going to have to be a 3 flirt.
Yeah, indeed, and that's a pretty quick redirect into briefcase. But I don't think it's actually going to get him in trouble because Martini is definitely a pathing sniper. I don't know if Martini cares to briefcase as much for that kind of pathing thing, the timing. So I don't think it actually matters, even if it is correct. So the other thing is you have a ton of flexibility on how to use your highlights in this variant, and I actually don't know what these highlights are for on Tex, Queen, and I think it was Kane was highlight before. It looks like they got brought down.
Yeah, hard to say. Even though briefcase and pathing different skill sets, the knowledge of either, safe to say that the kind of person interested in one is usually interested in the other two, though. There's a lot of overlap there, certainly. Here's a fake contact coming off. Again, don't know if this is a distract from anything. We did get a fingerprint from that briefcase, by the way. However, whether Martini looks for it or not, or is noticing pathing or not, they were zoomed in when most of that movement took place, so I don't think it was seen anyway, even though you see most of what happens on high rise. The timing there was particularly good. We leave the conversation, go in, and then we leave a few more seconds and go back to our original conversation to try to get this flirt a little farther along, and that's all it takes. Maybe they did notice what you were talking about, or maybe it was that conversation bounce leading into the aggressive flirt.
No, I absolutely think it was the latter. I think we got unlucky with our seduction target leaving the first conversation. It looked like we were flirting with, I think that was Hair next to us. It looks like we were chasing, although I guess it could also look like we were chasing General. That's actually what we were doing. But going away from that conversation and running back into it, either of those circumstances seems spy-like, and it could have been a shot for either one.
Yeah, and pretty aggressive, really. Normally, you'd say there are any number of venues where that kind of aggressive flirting, you might as well, and you dare them to catch you, and they're usually not going to. But on high rise, this is the kind of venue where a sniper can afford to look at that and will catch you on it potentially. So it's particularly aggressive here, and absolutely paying the price there with Martini going up a very impressive 3-0. And this might sound like a trite point, but I think anyone who's played competitively kind of understands why I'm saying it. Every win from here on out with this early lead is kind of exponential. 3-0 is significant, 4-0 is massive, 5-0 is ridiculous, right? So every game, in one sense, is more important now for Sauerkraut, even beyond, the sort of tally one every time you win.
Extreme agree, and not only that, these are the ways you get the spy wins early on, and it's just going to be the maps after this are going to get harder. Redwoods and High Rise any 3 of 5 are both close to 50-50, and we're going to drift away from that as the match goes on.
That's a great point. Swingy venues up front, spy winnable venues up front, and then after that, that lead is something you can just lean on when you're a good sniper. And both of these players are obviously good snipers. Martini can't put it away here, but boy, 4-0 would be massive. Playing as Seek on High Rise with the exact same mission setup, except, of course, Inspect instead of Fingerprint in 3, 2, 1, play in it. This is as close to standard as you'll find these days on 3-5 High Rise.
Yeah, and it is such an interesting choice between, because even on the A3 of 6 variant, the decision often between fingerprint and inspect. Usually, people don't leave both of those on just because it really limits your ability to be dynamic as spy. Because you have the other things you have to get rid of. Getting rid of purloin or bug just feels so hard, and I've very seldomly seen anyone get rid of seduce or contact. Sometimes contact is a really interesting to get rid of, except for silent games are just so interesting. Like if it wasn't for the fact that you could do a silent game and get away with something, contact would feel a little bit more tempting to get rid of. But on this map, it's just such an interesting and intriguing option that, like, that last game would have been a silent game for Next, because they faked contacted with only a ambassador, but still they got shot for what would have been a silent game.
Yeah, it can work on High Rise. I remember I did it against Magician as Buns. I want to say SCL 5. It was a fingerprint in a silent game, and boy, those are hard to shoot for on High Rise. That's why I tried to do it. It doesn't normally work, but when it lines up, when you can get one fingerprint by them, that's usually enough. Martini has gotten 2 flirt spies so far, both of them pretty weak, and that's going to be a green contact immediately afterwards while Sauerkraut is zoomed in on the list take. This is the example. This is what happens with Purloin. Even when you don't use it, the viewing angles are so bad, you really have to focus on them here. And out come the highlights for potential real contact. That's a great adjustment from Sauerkraut that's going to narrow this down quite a bit and give them a manageable pool of suspects to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. And because High Rise has so little few missions on it, you can be really flexible with the highlights. Well, I guess you can be flexible in highlights on any map. But as long as you're keeping track of the inspects, which is easier to track on this map than most maps, using this as your kind of like net for your actual suspects is going to be really important. That said, it's really, I mean, it just depends on if people go near Ambassador enough, because everybody in this conversation has been talking a lot, has been moving around a little bit. These highlights are all really saturated with flirt and contact. So it's really whether or not Ambassador gives us anything as far as a reason to shoot, because otherwise I think we're going to have to desperate Purloin.
Yeah, if he walks by that conversation, literally every single person is a bug suspect for behind the back, just like that. And speaking of talking a lot, we have 3 flirts, and we're still not done with seduce. We're going to have to talk at least once more. We're sitting there at 92%, a little under a minute left. There's the cooldown timer. There's the flirt. It's done. 2 missions, but they're both soft tells, and here's that faithful old choice. The Ambassador is at statues, which limits our options. Kind of wondering if it's going to be a Purloin, though. We're in a pretty good position for it, except for that drink in our left hand.
I mean, you're seeing also so many of these highlights are going next to Ambassador at the same time. I actually really wish we were able to Purloin during that, because it was 3 highlights, one after another, threatening Ambassador at center statues. And like Sniper was absolutely 100% zeroed in on it. We weren't able to do anything with it. And now it's looking real bad. Each one of those passes that those AI took. Ooh,
I think we're setting up for a bug here. We've gulped our drink. There's only 15 seconds left. The Ambassador's at statues again. No, it's going to be a green Purloin right there at the window. We watch the Ambassador as they walk by. We don't bug. It's going to be a green Purloin instead. Who's going to take it? How long is it going to last? Shot right as it's taken by the suspected double agent Smallman, and you wonder if that made the shot easier than it otherwise would have been.
Wait, it got taken by the SDA?
Purloin? Did it happen before the Purloin? Yeah, I think that's for the redirect.
Yeah. Okay, because I was curious. It was really fast, just because. I mean, I guess you might have been able to see it, and that's actually a little bit surprising. Yeah, because we were about to confirm with overtime, right? What the situation was for them, right? So, I mean, it ends up being a great shot too. Just very, very strange timing with the Purloin. The Purloin came off like almost exactly with enough time to take a shot after an OT. So they kind of got lucky in that respect. They had the space. But yeah, just enough.
That's crazy. Shot for the briefcase kind of cancel redirect there by Sauerkraut. And let's keep in mind, they are already down 3-0. It's one thing to take that shot when you're winning or it's close or you're trying to make a statement early in the match or something. They're down 3-0 already, and they take that shot in the waning seconds of a high-rise game. To keep this manageable, you can live with a 3-1, and that is, like I said, a statement shot that will put the Spy on notice and, frankly, make them think about a lot of the things they're doing going forward, which can make a Spy tentative, but we'll see if that's how Sauerkraut responds. It's going to be Modern next. This is a little different. This is 4 of 8 and wide open, and they are playing as Queen in 3, 2, 1, playing it. So you got to stop the celebration now. Martini's only up 3-1. You give up just one sniper game here, and you're basically back where you started.
Yeah, and one last thing about that previous game is we would have had that reverse drive-by bug at like 11 seconds, when like 10, 11 seconds. So I think we must have been shooting as an insurance policy against the reverse. And again, just a very interesting shot in waiting seconds there. But that's not where we are. We're in this Modern, and I'm still lingering on the last one.
Well, I'll linger with you. I think not just that, but the fact that they were watching for the bug meant they were focusing on that character anyway and more likely to notice the briefcase shenanigans, whereas they otherwise might have been looking at other mission sites. So the ambassador walking by us might have been why we got caught for that.
Yeah, and one interesting thing is like if you're in that pool of suspects, and all of like I said, there was like 3 paths by the ambassador, one after the other, and none of those AI took their shots, and only one person near the end of the game set themselves up for a bug. Like they put themselves in a position where they both had a drink offer and a ambassador. We just across real quick. We are just doing a straight rip, going right over. I am very torn on whether or not this was seen because the person next to us is highlit, but we might have been so focused on them in the spot. I think we got away with that, even though it was directly in the center of our vision. Very interesting.
Very aggressive. You don't see that very often. You don't normally see red there. People like to finish it green when they can. This is the old Akinar to Cirrus move, which you do not see often. But it is our only mission progress, too, by the way. We have 2.5 minutes left, and even if we're completely clean with that microfilm, the fact that we have no flirt progress could be an early red flag.
Yeah, but we're getting some nods because I knew, I was going to say, seduction target seemed like they were going to be pulling with us. It's still going to be a cross-conversation flirt, but DA comes in too.
And the red.
Wow. The mission sites are coming to us, and that is exactly what you need out of microfilm. And this game could have swung in a matter of about 20 seconds from 0 mission progress to 2 1/3 missions done just like that. And it's not clear we're suspected for anything.
Yeah, the only problem right now is, I mean, we should be saying for a 4th mission. I don't love going to this bookcase just because we were already at red bookcase, and we might get like credit for going to 2 different bookcases at this point, getting watched more closely. So I'm a little bit worried about that. We do
There's
pick up a
highlight. So no, you're right. If you have to go back to a shelf and maybe even lose suspicion, you want to end up at the shelf you ended up at last time. You want the place where you dumped the book, not where you grabbed it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, like Sauerkraut knows that they could not be so greedy to chase again to the bar. I think we should have been setting up whatever our 4th mission is because, like, we could have gotten a drink, just have a purloin in pocket, which is apparent. I think what we're gonna do anyway, right now.
I mean, it's a decent backup policy, certainly. You see that all the time. You grab the delegate, and maybe you use it, maybe you don't. I don't know. It seems like it goes off less than half the time.
Yeah, the weird thing is, I mean, if you see this bar and the people that were there before, there's just so few people that are going to be available for this send if we take it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we actually decide to go with the delegate, we are actually in a kind of a bad spot unless we don't think it's our 4th mission, which I'm assuming by the time we delegate, it'll be a 4th mission.
Yes, because we're going to go over and flirt, because 17% is the lowest flirt that can take, and that's exactly what we need. What a coincidence, sitting there at 83%. A little bit of space between us and our seduction target. Could be a lot more, but we'll just take it. We're going to delegate to a low light. That's going to be Pencil Stash, Walt Disney, Andrew Ryan, whatever you call him. We're going to finish the flirt in the meantime, and the mission win is pending with 30 seconds left. Here's the thing, though. Sometimes when a low light takes a drink, they don't bother to look at all. Is Martini going to look? They're setting it up. They're setting it up.
Yeah, we actually almost shot Sauerkraut on the send, but we realized that we might as well just wait, right? Like if we're correct about this movement,
there's a purloin.
Well, I mean,
Nothing
there isn't a shot yet.
And right in the brim of the hat, which we all know contains a major artery. And yes, you are right, was waiting for the reason to shoot there and eventually got it. And Martini, wow, up 4-1.
Yeah, actually, that we were playing with a little bit of fire there with a shot that late because uh, 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 the low light of I can't even tell which one that was going to be, but they could have left before that drink take and made it a little bit difficult. And yeah, that was. But I do think that Martini was on top of what was going on, but just a little bit playing with fire.
Yeah, well, speaking of playing with fire, look at all those lowlights. I saw a few of them, and I think they were pathing lowlights, they were behavioral lowlights, they were inactivity highlights, a kind of mix of things like that. And I don't doubt that Martini's quite good at those, but Sauerkraut, obviously a very accomplished spy as well, and you got to wonder at some point, are they going to punish that? Is the spy going to get lowlit at a crucial point? Because if they aren't, if you allow them to cut these parties down by a third or more for free without punishing it even once, that's basically guaranteeing that not only you're not going to win, you're definitely not going to come back from this kind of deficit. Sauerkraut's got to be looking at the replay, got to be thinking about how to exploit that if they can, because they have no choice with a 4-1 deficit, and it could be about to get worse. Martini as the spy on Modern, as Duke in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and I think that game really came down to, and this is something that I would not have picked up on, and it's really
Oh,
hard.
immediate delegate
Yeah,
This is the cheese delegate from Duke during a bar rush. There were 3 other people there, and now there is a 4th replacing us. We're immediately going to go into statues instead. I think if we get a quick inspect and go into a conversation, we can still make it take in time, but they're going to have to get in line, so you cannot wait very long. This could be for naught if they don't hurry up and delegate.
yeah, no, I think we're actually in a great spot because, as you noticed, every single other person that went to that bar rush at the beginning has been highlight, and we didn't get highlight even though we were at statues. I do think we noted that we were at statues and have that in mind.
We're
But
flirting
I think
first.
that
We're flirting
oh,
first,
here we
delegating
go.
afterwards. We waited 7 seconds to delegate, and there's a line. This could be very, very close. If it takes, I think it could be devastating. It's either caught completely and we're dead, or we're going to get away with it totally, but I just don't know if it's going to take in time.
Totally. And also, like, there's gonna be this odd where there's just so many people at bars.
No, that's why it works, but that's also why it won't work.
The funny thing is,
Here
I
it
actually have
comes.
a piece of advice for people. If you're noticing
Fire.
a bar rush, oh, here we
Interrupt
go.
real quick. It
Oh
did
my
not
god.
take seconds away, and I'll remind you, they waited 7 seconds, I counted, from entering that conversation until delegating. They flirted first, and I wonder if that was a misclick. I wonder if that was action priorities.
Oh, I imagine that it was just trying to finesse the timing perfectly, but I think 2 more people had joined that queue from the
Yep.
initial rush,
Yeah,
and
you can't
yeah,
mess
we
around.
just exactly. So that's a bummer, obviously, but also there are just now this interesting resource of a ton of people in this purloin threat, right? There's
Yeah.
so many people in this purloin threat, and I think that okay. So back to the thing I was talking about before. If you notice this many people threatening bar, start looking at conversations. Don't look at bar anymore. Look
Yeah.
for the send, not for trying to keep tracking who is going to bar. Just give up on it, right? There's just too many people, too wide of a pool of suspect. Try to
Right.
find the send.
I think kind of narrowing it down with those bar highlights made more sense on the 5-8 variant that this used to be a few seasons ago in SCL and other tournaments. Because at that point, cutting the party down late in the game, you still have one more mission, sort of. But when you only need that 4th mission, if you do cut the party in half with the purloin, but you don't have a good idea of who sent it, you're still in huge trouble.
Yeah, because right now, ooh, we have a
There's a
flash
flash.
on wheels. Because now we have this problem of we are. We did, for some reason, it looked like we were centering on salmon for a second there. There's just like you probably had this thing where it's like the camera moves and
Yeah.
just like they care about the person at the center of their screen because you know that you do that as sniper and they don't
Sometimes.
actually react to anything exactly. So
Yeah,
I feel
no,
like
it's totally incidental most of the time.
exactly. So Wheels is an obvious suspect from there because we did the flash, the helpful thing that did do for casters sometimes. Well, actually, it's also
You say,
it's
well,
it's
sometimes it
helpful.
makes fools of us, right?
It's true. Sometimes they do the flash, and sometimes it's an overcommit. I don't know. Anyways, the flash, regardless, it's
We direct Purloin, and Wheels get shot immediately afterwards.
Was Wheels even the one that would send to us?
I don't think
Though?
the Purloin was noticed, by the way. It
I
was
don't
off
think
camera.
so
It was
either.
obscured by the pillar.
I completely agree, and I don't think And maybe it got seen right. No, I don't think so. I think that shot was too fast.
Yeah.
That's funny because that's the second time that's happened where there's
Mhm.
been like a purloin at the exact same time as someone else getting shot, which would have helped disconfirm. Well, I guess the other one was on the spy, so
The
not
other one was on the
disconfirm.
spy, yeah. But now pretty funny. No indication that the Perlin was even seen. Wheels obviously just too suspicious. Had stop talked right before the shot, but that's the kind of thing the AI will do. But if you're tunneling on someone, suddenly it seems that much more suspicious. And oh boy, Martini is starting to run away with this. 5-1 now. Sauerkraut desperately on the spy on Ballroom, playing as, oh god, I need to check which twin. It's Bling, my favorite. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. And this is what you talked about. Look, Ballroom isn't super hard to get spy wins by, but it's getting harder. The venues are getting harder to get those spy wins by, and with a 4-game deficit, you just don't have that much time.
Agreed. I also liked how you paused in there and be like, okay, time to check whether or not I like this twin or not. Okay, it's the one that I like.
The
You
one
just
with
do
some
that with
fashion
relatives.
sense. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, the relative you like, not the relative you hate.
that's right. Once I cosplay as Black Bling Twin, I was kind of honor bound to be vaguely disgusted with the other.
That is true. And actually, I was going to mention this. Great to cast with you when normally we'd be seeing each other at PAX, but just SpyParty's not at PAX, so we're kind of bringing this honorary PAX cast and getting to ring it in with each other.
I mean, it's nice, but it's also incredibly depressing now to think
Yes.
about that. Yes, we will be missing PAX for the third straight year now.
Yeah, no, it's rough because I was like, okay, I'm yeah, we'll see. But anyways,
Maybe next
it
year.
is exactly. I would if Spy Party goes again, I will be back there, and I know so many people will too. It's always been like the unofficial kind of like Spy Party meetup. Well, I
Yeah.
guess relatively official at this point.
It's SpyCon. Let's be honest. It's the Spy Party convention unofficially every year that people are there. And well, speaking of missing time, Sauerkraut, green time ad, most of which is about gone already. And we're going back again to do it again. It's another green time ad, and you start to see how Sauerkraut wants to play this.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Sauerkraut is still taking chances because I was worried about one thing for Sauerkraut, which was if you take a shot that you feel intuitively good about, and that appears to be in the wheel shot, like you had suspicion on them and you tunneled on them a little bit, it can be really rough for just your gameplay because it feels like the little things you're trying to do, the little finesse points aren't working, and those are some of
Right.
the roughest to try to recover from because those are the little advantages that you try to use on, right?
Yes.
Because like you can correct your mistakes on if you didn't get the fade right on a purloin or something like that. You can
Where you
tell
miss a
yourself
bug.
midstream.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I missed a bug. Next time I won't miss the bug. But if you're missing every little thing, if your whole vibe is off, you feel like you're not playing the same game. Things feel wrong on a deeper level.
Exactly. But the thing that I'm hoping that Sauerkraut took a second to notice is Martini was actually in trouble that game. He was in time trouble at least. He was about to get that purloin off, but he had 2 missions done then. And actually, no, that would have been his first mission, I think. So hopefully he took a breath and said, okay, I made a mistake, but it's not like that game was got away from me and was an absolute loss.
Right. Sauerkraut has a drink fingerprint, still has the drink, and also has most of the flirt, as tends to follow the drink. But we are at 85%, and our seduction target has not left, so I guess it's going pretty well. But we leave instead, playing hard to get, I guess. We're going to finish the drink at bookshelves. We might be doing this just to break things up, though, because we do have those 2-time ads, so we can afford to stretch this out, even though we don't have a mission completed yet.
Yeah, it's true, and this sometimes happens to players that add time a lot. They'll start thinking about. I actually have the flexibility to start not worrying about finishing the flirt. Right? You can actually, especially when you're at 85%, you can start doing. Ooh, he's noticing this angle. Okay, we pull ourselves just a little bit over. The hand is in this interesting spot, but that was a great read on the spot where we could stand and get a good. Oh, he noticed that spin is spin happy. I don't know. People, there's these signals from spies that happen. I know shake is bad, up and down is good. I don't know what spin means.
I think it's good. And yes, it is, because we are about to shoot the spy in the heel. It means we are all over this. No, we decide not to shoot, but I think we're just waiting. Just one little signal. We're thinking, you know what, there's no way I'm that far off in the mission count. There's no reason to shoot yet. Let's just be absolutely sure. I think it's happy. I think it's I'm about to go up 6-1.
All right. Yeah, and obviously, if you feel like you missed part of a microphone, but they've never visited the other shelf,
Yep.
you don't have to worry much. There's that huge difference on 2 book maps versus 3 book maps. Is if you
Yes.
guard one shelf, enough, you know if there's the potential for them
Yes.
having completed the other one.
Another green time ad, and we leave very, very quickly. But at this point, I think Martini's just like a cat playing with a mouse.
Yeah, indeed, and we might even be able to. I guess at this point in the game or this match, we don't need that much reconnaissance on them. But I mean, we do have a ton of lowlights at this party.
Yeah.
Martini's etiquette has been on fire this
There it is.
particular
Banana
shot.
bread.
Yeah, we almost got down. I was curious if there'd be enough. Another one where the banana bread comes off right after the shot. Another mission was turned right there.
No.
That was almost one of those low light the rest of the party and shoot the last person. Right, we were basically at that point.
I mean, that's just such a power move when you see the replay. You know, that's really just an intimidation thing. And I guess, given that their name is Sauerkraut, I should have said playing with their food rather than playing with a mouse. Either way, it is indeed 6-1. Martini kind of just letting that one hang out there. And now is a chance to just all but put this away. I'll remind you again, it's to 9 here in the quarterfinals. So this is not as close to over as you'd think, but it's looking pretty darn bad. Sauerkraut now has to snipe almost for their tournament life against Martini's Wheels in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
We probably have a term for the like the Opie Errant line of okay, when do we get to the spot where there's no comeback that's been bigger kind of a thing. I want to say that was like a 7 or 8 game lead. I could be wrong. I should actually have that number.
Because of SCL standards, you know, this can only be cups now because 6 is a draw in SCL. For most of SCL, it was a 5 before that, I believe. So I actually built a tool to determine how to find games like that, but it's SCL only, I'm afraid.
Well, if
yeah,
I recall
it's-
correctly, it was 12-3 you round up, so 9 games
It
down.
was 12. Yes,
9
it was
games,
12.
okay.
Exactly, only possible in the Cups, 12-3 and 13-8 too, which I always found more impressive, the final 5 games, more than just making up 9, you know, because at that point, you want more runway. Winning those last 5, including, I think, a spy game on Courtyard with fingerprints as rocker, I want to say. No, it was a sight to see.
Okay,
And also
here
only
we
possible. There's a white microfilm, and I should have put out also about that only possible in the finals, where you're playing to, you know, a much higher number. I don't know if that microfilm was seen or not.
Yes, because like we've talked about this in previous casts, where when you're moving your I guess your position, you're often looking in the direction you're moving, and we were moving away from it, even though it's
Yes.
on screen. You're
Yes.
moving in another direction.
If you're rotating to the right, your eyes are looking to the edge of the right. It's just naturally what happens
Banana
because
bread.
that's where the thing you want to see is. There's a green contact. It's completely off screen, basically. The pillar and Toby both obscuring us. And we have a mission and a half done, and I don't think any suspicion left. But there are 3 lowlights so far, including both twins.
Yeah, and one of the other aspects to be here is we are gonna have to visit both bookshelves, and I think we did see that Wheels was at Blue Bookshelf, so we're gonna have to maybe take that book out and do something special with it if we actually want to do it. And we have another mission beyond that even. There's not that many statue visitors. Just
No.
actually in this set altogether, but especially in this game, I just haven't seen
Or the
that
previous
many.
game, yeah.
Yeah, there's just
Ballroom
Inspecs
games.
hasn't really played into this very much. I don't think if Spy has finished Inspecs yet.
No, and that's
Maybe they did in
incredibly
Redwoods.
weird.
Yeah.
Here
no,
it's
they
green.
hadn't. Yeah.
Yeah, they
right.
were about to finish on Redwoods when the shot came off on Queen, I believe it was. It was Salmon about to finish the Inspecs, but never got the chance. We're going to walk away with this green book. I wonder if we're going to try to do some kind of shenaniganry. If we're going to try to, like, stick out from the conversation a little bit. No, we're inside, and we do get the white flirt, and that gets us up to 85%. But there's only a minute left, and we actually don't have that much progress. This is the problem with microfilm. You have to pick your spots so well that it can take a very long time.
Yeah, and we are going to run into this problem. We might even time ad here before the beep start.
We have to,
Nope.
I think.
Oh, well, we're reading so far. I mean, we could transition out of it. We are.
Microfilm right
Oh
after
my
that.
god!
It's a green! It's a green, but who would do that? Did Sauerkraut see it? I don't think they did. Was this going to go to waste, though, with 30 seconds left? We're going to have to time out, I think, almost immediately afterwards, unless it's going to be seduced and bug, seduced and purloin. That's one way to finish, but here goes the book back with 20 seconds left. It's not clear what Sauerkraut's looking at. They might be waiting for confirmation, but that was right under the sniper's nose. Can we actually finish this out, though?
Yeah, this is okay. So we're waiting right here. We have to request and flirt.
Seduction target
we're
walks
not gonna have
right
time.
by us onto
Yeah.
green shields, and there's no room. It's going to be a purloin. It's going to be a white, but we're not even going to force overtime. That all went for naught.
Yeah, no, that is of course a bummer. The microfilm right in front it was lovely to see that because we were really bold and it actually just paid off because we were looking at both Toby was going to be under threat and Ambassador. And I love the move on that, but we put the book back really slowly, hoping that Seduction Target was going to move, and we had to be starting before that because if we had, let's say, done the Purloin before the Seduce, like we were just so in on where the Seduce was going to land, we just left ourselves a little bit up to chance. They did tempt us. I see the path in towards us, and we're like,
Yes.
are we about to get this insane win? But yeah, just a little bit too much.
I mean, it's worse in the past. They kind of bump into us, sort of like the shoulder into shoulder, screw you, buddy kind of move that you get sometimes walking past someone. It's really adding injury to insult in that case. And, we're kind of instinctively rooting for the crazy win, and we instinctively root for the spy and all that other stuff. But let's remember here that Martini was up 6-1, not exactly the underdog there. That would have just been pretty close to the death blow, but instead, little bit of light creaking out from between that door and that door jam for Sauerkraut, who is down 6-2. I almost said only 6-2, but I think that would be patronizing. But if they win here, things get just a little bit interesting. And this is maybe the last venue to really get those spy wins that you talked about that were not going to be plentiful very much after that opening. This is the exception. It is Sauerkraut as Ponytail on Aquarium in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Here we go.
And also, surprising is to say, we also Sauerkraut needs the sniper wins. Like Sauerkraut is going to need some of that more consistent sniper venues, I think, to clean up their sniper play a little bit. So not only do we need to win this, often it's the case where sometimes the margins are created by a couple of spy wins and then just flawless sniper play, right? That hasn't really been the case. Sauerkraut's actually lost a lot of sniper games so far in the 6-2 set.
Yeah, and even if you win this here, you have to snipe with the big honkin' shark in the way right afterwards to cash it in. Otherwise, you're just treading water, and if you tread water long enough, no pun intended on this venue, you are going to drown because you're coming into this down 4 games already. And it is a longer set. Martini needs 3 more, but yeah, you really don't, you can't mess around anymore. You pretty much have to win from here on out.
Indeed, and so we've also seen quite a few slow games where we're kind of hanging out, watching the rest of the party, which, I mean, so far it's kind of worked out because there's been a lot of civ shots for at least the games where Martini's been spied, and we haven't really been making a lot of rush progress. That said, on Aquarium, there actually aren't that many rushes because the version of the game that is the rush is basically the shark cheese, which you don't actually rush for. You get partial on a bunch of different missions and then finish up somewhere. But I don't know. I mean, getting a rush in would also be a little bit tricky for the sniper. But actually, that's another statistic I would love to. Statue to statue. And we are spinning our camera to Sauerkraut, so I'm not sure what that means. Statue to statue, so we actually might be doing a true rush on Aquarium, which I would be very interested in.
Well, it's going to be really hard with that 48% on the flirt. If that were 1 higher and we could 2 flirt, that reads very differently. But instead, it's going to be at least a 3 flirt. And as for rushing, I don't know if it's about rushing so much as steady progress. They say sharks only stay alive if they keep moving at all costs, and some people have said the same is true of spies.
Okay. I was a little bit worried for Sauerkraut there because that path in for briefcase was way too far out to actually be a direct path to briefcase. Briefcase, yeah.
Are we obligated to take this?
I think we are.
Yeah. Well, here's the crazy thing. We didn't cheese it behind shark. We had the entire shark covering us, and I thought that was going to be the play. But it isn't. We wait until the shark clears completely so we can be seen doing the briefcase after an innocent watch check. And there's the fingerprint.
There is the fingerprint, so now we have a path to the Softail variant of the finish. We are going to be crowding in. Yeah, I was going to say
the corner. I have been there. It hurts. Maybe not as much as when you're playing in the quarterfinals of the Summer Cup, though. The psychic pain there, more significant than anything that's happened to my elbow.
Yeah, no, and also we didn't get the flirt because we were trying to stand close enough to get a flirt across the pads. Because this is in that awkward spot where you really want to, you're okay with a really far flirt because you know you're going to be doing 2 flirts at the very least, and you're just trying to sneak that one in no matter how much you can. But now all of that cost us so much time, and I don't think we picked up a delegate. I think we just left before Toby came, right?
Yeah, 30-some seconds left, and the one saving grace is here. Very few lowlights for Martini on Aquarium. You can see and look at all these highlights. They are getting out of control. It's impossible here
And the
that
other
we're going to
way.
get bailed out if we get a good contact. That's going to knock out 3, 4 of those highlights, but a shot needs to come off for us to actually have a chance here. We're going to have to frame someone or something with all these highlights. It is possible. 99% of the flirt. This is what we were talking about earlier. The contact
And the
right
other way.
afterwards. And no, the double agent leaves. It all falls apart. 99%, an inadvertent fake. And now we're going to have to rush to Windows to time add. And I think this is going to be 7-2 for Martini in just a few short seconds. Here's the time add. It's white. We leave immediately. We get shot immediately. 7-2 it is.
That is, I mean, so as we mentioned throughout the part of the game, we were in a tough spot and we were a little bit worried about the pacing. It is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, that is one of the things you leave yourself at risk for, is that you have that pacing issue that can come together. And so I reacted to the 99%, then remembered, oh, right, this is destined to be 99% if we have a close screen flirt. That's not surprising. Yeah. But then the contact right after that. So the problem there also was, even if we had that contact, what was the actual next move? I don't know if we could have finished anything.
Yeah, I don't know. At that point, we're just trying things, and there's just a little bit of panic at the end. And after all that, too, that fingerprint in the top left corner of the venue, from the sniper's perspective, goes for naught. It sits in our pocket for the authorities to found to be put with our personal effects with our body, unfortunately. And now Martini is just 2 away with a 5-game lead. They do have to spy here on Aquarium first, and we've seen crazier comebacks, as we described just minutes ago, but it's not looking good. Martini as the spy, playing as queen in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Now, here's the thing. I just have a feeling if you're up, this is totally metagamey. I don't think Martini shark walks if they're up 7-2. I feel like they, right? You know, you just don't do that to another player.
Well, what they do, oh, this is interesting. They do a green, a contact, and shark walk over to the other conversation, and yet Sauerkraut notices and highlights them.
Yes, very fascinating. That's such a fun play, because if you walk into a conversation without a DA, you don't usually get picked up for having moved conversations, because they're not going to care. They're just trying to figure out who to highlight for for contact credit. Now, that said, it also brings attention to the fact that you moved conversations, because they're looking at the conversations trying to remember who would have been in, who's getting credit. So a little bit, it's an interesting play. I actually would have parsed that out sometime. That is where I would pause during a slow cast and think about it for 30 minutes.
Well, then we would talk about the history of the banana split, which goes from super powerful to super suspicious to super powerful again and back and forth. I feel like that one is never finished. There's never a firm meta on the banana split. It all shifts.
Indeed. Unlike actual sundaes, which the meta is mint ice cream, Oreos, and whipped cream, and then that is settled. It is science. That is the best one.
Mint ice cream? Really?
Mint ice cream. Oh my god, I don't want to have this fight right now, but it is absolutely the best.
I just feel like mint overpowers everything if you're not careful.
The host says the track is right, so 2-1.
You've been outvoted on this pointless question. I will say, as a kid, I hated mint. It always reminded me of toothpaste. These days, I appreciate it a little more. One of many things I've changed my mind about, particularly taste-wise, as I've gotten older.
It's your fault for having mint toothpaste. That's the complete, there's no complaining.
What kind of toothpaste do you have? What? Like fruit? Like what?
Like savory, like gravy toothpaste.
Great. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you got all your toiletries at Spencer's Gifts. My apologies. By the way, contact is done. Flirt is most of the way done. I'm really just looking for anything else to talk about at this point. I really hope the spy does something else interesting so I can stop talking about gravy toothpaste.
We can talk about whether or not mint overpowers Rug. Quite honestly, I feel like Rug really stands out.
I've had some pretty weird tasting sodas in my day, though. I like to go to weird soda shops, buy a bunch of weird flavors, and invite friends over and have them taste test and try to guess what they are. I'm not kidding. I've done that twice. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommended. Also recommended, doing missions. There we go. 2 done.
There we go. I would say, I know this about Pennsylvania being a weird soda state. You got all those soda factories. My wife grew up there. She loves, what is it, A-Treat? Out there it's out there in the woods or something. I know you don't have woods.
It's in the middle of the woods. It's a soda factory in the woods, sure. I love it. I love it. There's celery soda. They have a ranch flavored soda. I don't recommend that.
Oh, oh,
Some of them are a lot of fun though. Some of them are
ranch.
surprisingly good. Yeah, ranch.
All right. Well, are we setting? Oh, I was wondering if we were to do the book across Shark Walk. So we are
No.
actually. So normally this would be a little bit of a Shark Walk threat, but
Nope.
we are actually not in threat range for that, and we're going to put that statue back. We are able to get it back down in one cycle. So we might actually go statue to statue right here. I think that is actually the plan
We're
indeed.
barely gonna finish in time though. It's gonna be inspect swap. It's gonna be beep 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 with basically only a low light at any other mission site. Maybe we get lucky and Duke kind of gets shot here instead. But this is gonna be 7 seconds and it doesn't even matter. We don't even get to the overtime. Sauerkraut takes the shot. Stays alive, 7-3.
Indeed, and I also notice on that one. At first, I was gonna be like, "Oh, you don't need to shoot. You can wait for OT." But actually, sometimes you see the swap. It's fifth mission swap, and you should just shoot immediately, just in case they're trying to style on you.
Right. Yeah, that can happen regardless. But it just shows you that Sauerkraut has been really onto them a couple of times. Now, of course, we also get that wheel shot on Modern. You can tell they're fixating on spies, potentially, or who they think are spies. Usually right, but not always. And unfortunately, you need to be always right from here on out, just about. And oh boy, this is going to be a tough one. Terrace. Sauerkraut on Terrace's spy, playing his buns, down 7-3, in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And this is 3 of 7 Terrace. Everything is on.
It is true, and Terrace was one of the ones that was the least affected by the 3 of 7. Oh, we got ourselves a like tiny little space here. It's AI that did it, so I'm not sure if we're gonna get. Okay, we actually leave before talking, so we could have potentially gotten paired with both of the characters there and have to worry about it. But I think the switch over to 3 of 7 Terrace was the mildest out of the ones that got switched into the Sniper Cave-like variants. It's still relatively controllable. One of the big things about it is obviously if people go to statues or not, because there's going to be a lot of flirt, there's going to be a lot of credit, and then it's going to be someone else doing enough that they can get shot.
Right. Well, the big thing is that known double agent and the fact that it often leads to 2 contacts to try to maximize that pool. And this is one venue where I would say highlights for real contact are not just common, but I would say close to mandatory. Almost everybody seems to do them.
Yeah, and it's easy to keep track of because you can actually like start seeing the cross pollination, and then if you actually automate that process enough, where you see a highlight, let's say you're highlighting for real contact then contacts again in a different conversation with the double agent, you can start parsing out very quickly. Okay, is this person the kind of spy that does double contacts just to credit themselves, or is that weird? That why would somebody contact twice if they're in both conversations with the DA? You can lowlight this person that now has 2 contacts just because it's odd of them to do.
The only exception being if there's a specific person they want to frame who is now joined, and not just widening the pool in general, right? And I also tend to be of the thought that your average spy is the real contact's going to be second a little more often than first. I don't know why I think that. I don't have data on it. It's just my instinct.
It's probably just
Oh, there's a bug. There's a bug as the ambassador leans down, looks like they're going to put down the briefcase, but instead the little personal space timer goes off, and I think we might have gotten away with that.
The problem is that once again we're hitting time issues, which actually has been an issue on both sides. Just that Martini's gotten a civ shot. Is this a send? Are we saying that this was a send from Kane?
Are we trying to frame for a purloin? No, we're going to delegate instead.
No.
That makes sense. If you think you got away with the bug, even late in the game, it'd be really weird there. There's a green fingerprint attempt, and it does not take. It's going to be red. And we're just going to casually sip our drink, even though we only have 30 seconds left and no flirt. So I think we're kind of all in here on, I guess, contact delegate. But we got to do it soon. There's the delegate immediately to Teal, who's already high lit. And we got to get the contact, but the double agent is at statues. This could be going wrong.
It could be going wrong, and we actually don't even care. Like normally, okay, we are setting ourselves up for a potential, and we actually this does come together. Yes. Oh man, this game has some lag in it.
Yeah, the 6 seconds of lag between the shot and it actually taking, and you got to wonder if that factors into the outcome just a little bit. But our plan there, you'd think it'd be purloin contact. Maybe you get the civ shot, maybe you don't, but who cares? Because you can still win. But with the DA out, that had to work. And it did. And Sauerkraut now 2 wins in a row. and it is 7-4.
Yeah, no, actual like a legitimate real shot because 3 games is absolutely. I mean, like not even just overstate this, just our interest in casting. That's absolutely doable. And it's going to be starting on Terrace, so you're one. You can go up on Terrace, and I mean, it's going to be a little bit tough to sweep some of them next maps, but that's such a better position. And even just for your own pride, uh, we were close to getting what like 9-2 at this
Yeah,
point. If we got swept on
yeah.
this one, that just hurts.
Yeah, we're finishing strong at least so far, and a good sniper is going to win most games on Terrace, in my opinion, even on 3-7. So this could get very interesting very quickly, but I think Sauerkraut needs to cash this in right here, right now, and Martini needs to stop that bleeding. Going to be playing as Seek on Terrace in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
All right, we're gonna go into the little hangout corner where spies always look at the rest of the party and decide what to do off of that. I wish that there was like a way. Well, I mean, obviously, it would make the game completely different, but like sometimes I'm
I
trying
wish
to
to
think
go
about
to
how it.
downstairs. You're thinking, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yes. And I recently went to the place that this is based on. I haven't actually talked about Terrace. It is indeed this beautiful, but it was a little bit strange being around there. There aren't people hanging out just doing drinks like this, though. I will say that. And it is an obnoxious amount of stairs. I have no idea how Wheels got there.
Banana bread.
Well, you could have one of those Dean Kamen ones that kind of goes up on it, stands you up. I just
It's true.
assumed. I mean, he looks like a tech guy, right? He's got to have a fancy wheelchair. By the way, time ad early in this game from
Banana
Martini
bread.
staring out there, not just killing time, as mentioned, as spies normally do there. It's a white time ad instead, and then we're talking during the contact, and Sauerkraut is flashing on them, and we are, I think, moments away from their 3rd consecutive win.
What is that for? Maybe we caught the time ad late.
Yeah.
That could potentially be it as well. But yeah, because we were at that initial hangout spot, and one of the things to say is like, I would love to. I mean, there's just so many better things to do with your time as sniper on these ones. But doing things like if you notice somebody hanging out at windows a lot, and then trying to frame, if you can remember them hanging out at a spot where they have a good perch on the rest of the party, that would be such an interesting way to out a frame. But it's just really not worth looking at when you're actually in the middle of the game.
Yeah, probably not. We have a green flirt, we have the contact, we also have the attention of the sniper, and that is probably more significant than the mission and a half that I mentioned before. Not looking great on Terrace here for Martini, and things looking up. Sauerkraut stock way, way up since the early match. So close now to bringing it within 2.
Yeah, and depending on what, so if we think we caught the time ad, where I think we're just screwed. But
Yeah.
sometimes there's the flash on a spy for a wrong reason, and then they go down a different path towards completion, and then the sniper then all of a sudden is panicked because if like you saw them, you hallucinated a swap or something like that, and then they just like don't rush or anything like that after that. And
Yeah.
like, wait, what's going on here? They don't
This doesn't
try
make
really
sense. The
quickly.
narrative doesn't fit why I highlighted them.
Right, exactly. And then they can second guess it. I don't think that's the case. I think it's probably that time ad, like you're saying, because
Yeah.
otherwise, or just conversation timings, but.
Well, like we said earlier, sometimes the flash helps us, and sometimes it makes us look stupid. And when they have a different reason in mind than the one we think, that's an example of it making us look stupid. The flirt is done. He's watching Martini talk. He's watching Martini breathe. He's watching Martini just stand there. And I think he's just being very careful because the concept of being wrong, he probably felt equally confident about Wheels at one point, and that was a Civ shot, and right now that shot is looking huge. So I think as confident as he might be about this, he's got to be sure.
Yeah, and one of the. So let's say you think that you're getting laser burned, let's just say, which on Terrace is actually kind of hard to read. I don't think that. You should not believe that you're getting laser burned on Terrace unless you're at statues and they're staring you down. We do. Wow, this is an interesting spot to go back to because we're done with this flirt, and if we talk, it just kind of. Oh, we are faking a delegate. Okay.
From General, I think, and immediately we get shot for it. Sauerkraut was just waiting for any reason at that point. Anything at all. Don't mess around. We were waiting for an excuse. We got it. We got the win, and it is 7-5 going into gallery. Sauerkraut still behind, still has any number of ways to lose this, but many more ways to win it than they did just a few minutes ago, playing as Green Dress on gallery, down just 2, fighting for their tournament life in 3, 2, 1, playing it. This is, you could make a pretty good argument that this is the game of the match.
Absolutely, and the pressure is on Martini, I think, because right now Sauerkraut is
Yes.
in that spot where they've caught up, and right now it's not where they're invested. If they bring it to 7-7, there's huge pressure on both of them because early
Early
highlight.
highlight, and no,
Oh,
it's a
we can
misclick
go.
because we get bumper down. You can tell. I think it might have just been highlighting ponytail there at bookshelves. There are 3 at shelves, and maybe we're a little worried about an early microfilm.
Yeah, but if Sauerkraut's able to bring it back to a tie, or honestly even like 6-7, there then all of a sudden the pressure really comes back on Sauerkraut because it's kind of like this weird house money feeling if you've brought back like a really lopsided set. Where you're like, okay, I'm just glad that I'm not getting blown out at this point. I don't feel as much pressure, and so really Martini might be feeling that more this game.
Yes.
But yeah, huge. And let's see on gallery, how can you abuse that? Purloin's in the back. There's not as much you can do here. So just gotta play your game, play smart, and I
Yeah.
think that's what Sauerkraut's gonna do.
I mean, when you're up 6-1, you're counting your chips a little bit.
Right.
You start to feel like you've won.
Yeah, and like there's still like obviously the pressure where you just like I kind of want to just be done with competitive SpyParty because like then you could start
Yes.
thinking about like hey I could go have a nice rest of my day where I'm not playing this awful game competitively where I'm getting stressed and sweating and worrying about it. That would be nice. So you want to close out in that sense, but that's a different kind of pressure.
Get out of my head. This is why I don't do it anymore. A fingerprint for Sauerkraut, a third of a flirt, and an innocent drink there. A little over 2 minutes left. And because the pressure, as you said, might be on Martini, we might be kind of just saying, hey, slow, steady progress. See if the nerves are getting to them. See if they shoot a sieve. But give myself just enough progress that I can rush something late if the shot doesn't come off.
Yeah, and there's been like a lot of shots prior to mission completing. I don't think the mission count has been.
Does not take. And a highlight
Yes.
comes out for it, and the game has immediately flipped.
And it looked like Sauerkraut might have had a camera shake at that one, might have also read the fact that they get highlight for nothing. And that's just, as people have mentioned many times before, one of the worst things to get highlight for because there's no disconfirming evidence at any point.
And not only that, but oh, and there's a bug right afterwards. If I'm going to be suspected anyway, I might as well go ahead and do it. We're going to go right into statues, and we're going to seduce with our seduction target right afterwards as well. No, we're going to walk away. What is this?
This is so that ended up working really well for the pacing as long as we don't do inspects, which we shouldn't because we're
shouldn't.
highlight. We actually
Absolutely
should
not.
not do inspects. Yeah. So and it what the seduction card joins. Oh, but we don't get 100%, so it's all right. But still, we this has been a really interesting turn of events of going for that statue, getting that seduce, because there's not really like if we can finish seduce without actually having to go to a conversation. Oh, and we can. I think that yes, we
We're
can
chasing
finish without.
and it's very much on screen. It's a white test. It does get it done, though. And now, 1 minute left. We need a mission and possibly a mission and a half because one more fingerprint's going to get it done. We are offered a drink, and we are just going to take it. Our second innocent drink of the game, and we are short on time. And that's a very gutsy thing to do, but you got to figure out how to finish with
this race.
Contact and what else?
We were really hoping for that briefcase because that's why we took the drink to make it so that it was going to be less like we were actually going for fingerprint, but we're going to go for that briefcase. But Seek,
we're going to go.
Immediately whenever there, we did go up, so we freed up our hands. So we're going to maybe go for the. We do not go for the difficult fingerprint.
Teal is out of conversation, reading a book. That's the person we need to contact with. It's going to have to be a swap here, but unless there's a fingerprint, we can't finish. Is there a fingerprint on this statue? There's going to have to be, I think. It's going to be a swap. It's a green. And we're going to put it right back down, and we're going to rush somewhere. We can't contact. What do? We have to go outside to time at it. We're not going to make it there in time. This is not going to work.
Oh, you're right. It's not going to be. Oh, tragic.
My brain was doing the trajectory math, the timing, and I just realized as soon as they green swapped, I looked around for Teal, because if Teal is not in a conversation, there's nothing left to do, because the only other thing you can totally rush is a bug, and we already did that.
Yeah, what a shame. So, that was a huge opportunity on our part. Now, of course, we still could have gotten shot, of course, for that green swap, right? Because it was becoming red at the end there. There's gonna be some OT, but I want to say, well, like we almost had like a 50-50 chance of some craziness happening there. So
To OT,
too
yes.
bad. Yes.
Yeah. If we get to OT, all kinds of craziness can happen, just as a general rule, certainly. So. Gotta wonder if there's a fingerprint out there floating somewhere. Maybe the plan was the briefcase, and as soon as it went out, maybe we didn't have a backup fingerprint location in mind, because that's a lot for the spy to track. I said that might have been the game of the match, and boy, afterwards, it sure looks like it, because now Martini is on match point, up 3 games. spying on gallery as Bling Twin, I believe, in 3, 2, 1, playing it. That is a brutal turn of events for Sauerkraut, and it could not have come at a better time for Martini.
Yeah, no, and they do get bailed out of a really difficult situation. Obviously, on this, where playing on Galleria Spy with a lot of pressure is going to be a little bit difficult. It's going to narrow your vision a little bit, but and it's really too bad because some of the ways we responded, we do get knocked down neutrals here about the highlight. Both games, early highlights and then reconsidered.
Well, probably it's very easy to highlight the wrong person on gallery in particular, and in this case, it's also a twin.
It's true, but basically what we're saying is, yeah, keep those. If you highlight someone early, they're probably the spy. Just shoot them.
Kletos rather famously says that if he highlights someone by accident at the beginning of a game, he doesn't change it. He figures it's just random, maybe it's fate, just see what happens.
I am sure that you've gotten shot by this and told them what a bad thing it was, and you did your results process thing. But
yeah, process over results. How dare you? How dare you win? How dare you beat me? And how dare you think that it was a good idea just because you won? All that stuff. Martini has not done anything since being highlight and then bumped back down to neutral. There's under 3 minutes left, and we just have this useless drink. I forget what kind of drink that is. Is it sake?
ooh, good question.
It's a sake glass, at least. So one would presume.
Yeah. And so also to that last game, there was a difficult fingerprint on the.
Oh, blue and green. Just real quick. Sorry, I hate to cut you off, but the spy has just gone from one bookshelf to the other.
Yes,
please continue.
And Martini has done this twice. This direct transfer. I don't actually know if Martini has done. If Martini did any action test transfers, I know that we had some action tests. I think we had an action test on both sides on Ballroom.
Oh, it was wheels, yeah, out front on Ballroom, and it didn't end up working though, but for other reasons.
Right.
But they got away with the microfilm, and there was also, of course, the Rush Queen on Moderne from blue to red.
Yeah, so basically, there's been a lot of microfilm this match and not a lot of inspects. Maybe that'll change right now as we handle into this. Like, there's been more transfers than inspects, I'm pretty sure.
Which is crazy, because inspect a close third most completed mission usually behind seduce very often, and transfer dead last overall, and I don't think it's that close.
Yeah. And a lot of this too, a lot of statues.
Statue.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of that. I like it in that you're going to finish it. I'd rather you do it earlier in the game, frankly. You get the inspects done, but it's not happening late. It seems less suspicious. You give them time to forget, maybe, pay attention to other stuff. If I have to pick, I'd rather do it that way. But in this case, we might be thinking, I don't know, we're thinking about going silent there because of that microfilm.
It's true. One of the other things with gallery is if you go really quick inspects on gallery, you're not going to get the additional pressure on you for swapping. If you go back for the other inspects, where they're just going to be looking at you really closely.
We're going to have to change our seduction target here. We just got a green flirt with our seduction target. It bumps up to 73%. With under a minute left, this is actually a huge deal. But we can contact here, give up the silent game, and seduce. If we can fit into this conversation, and we squeeze in, we're going to need a green standing across from them. Big moment here with 2 missions. We're going to need that green flirt first. It is green, 100%. And with 30 seconds left, a contact could win it. But the shot looks like it's lining up, and it does get taken. Sauerkraut pulls out the win, needing it for their tournament life, almost hitting 2 other people.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of the slowest shots. We were zoomed in from the very beginning, trying to find the right angle on them, and fantastic shot on that. And yet again, another mission comes off as the shot is coming off. I think that's 4 times in this match. What a strange match we've been.
What a strange match. The individual games, the total score, all of it. It is 8-6. Sauerkraut needs 2 more to force overtime here, and this is not what you want to see in that position. Library. Sauerkraut spying on Library. It's 5 of 8. The only time we've had that. Now the Moderne's 4-8. It's pretty much just this and Veranda, if I recall correctly. You do not want to be doing this for your tournament life, but you are probably happy you're still playing at all Martini, trying to stop it from slipping away. 2 match points. 3, 2, 1. Playing at Sauerkraut as Pencil Stash. What do you call him?
I do Disney just because it's easier to fit into my combine parts of words with characters thing.
Yeah.
Blensel Stash, Grensel Stash just doesn't really work for me.
No, that's horrifying, actually. There's an early flirt from that guy. It's just 25%, not very good. And given that we've seen some pretty aggressive flirting on other venues, like even High Rise, I'd really hope we see a lot on Library.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things is that library just tends to be towards the end of sets a lot. I don't know why this is. And then sometimes if you're sniping in a stressful situation, I want to say like 5% more likely the spy wins because pressure on library is actually difficult to deal with. If you are calm and composed, most of the time you can just control the party, figure out what's going on, and it takes a really monumental spy game to win. But if you feel under pressure, that's when library actually really comes under its own as a venue to snipe on.
I agree. I think when pressure affects the spy, it affects it in ways that new spies are susceptible to, which is inaction and fear. But most of the players at this level are beyond that point, at least. They can force themselves to do missions they have to. So I would say pressure affects the sniper more at higher levels. There's a bug attempt, by the way, that does not take, followed by a highlight, followed by a drink take.
Yes, that is no good for us, of course, because we have so little done that we're going to be having to go to many different mission sites. It's kind of like library; you can just see it more easily, but library is also one of those maps that you can tracking someone is extremely useful because you have to rotate between the mission sites so much that just having to notice in periphery if somebody's moving around is very useful. So same thing with Redwoods. Being able to track someone throughout their progress on Redwoods is extremely key to being able to figure out who's an actual threat. Library also, but you have the extra lifeline on Library of having a 5 of 8 rather than 4 of 8.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just movement in general, right? It's a big venue, so you have to move around usually a lot, especially with 5 missions. If you shot the person who moved the most and they weren't slow playing, you'd hit the spy pretty often, certainly more than random.
True.
I often tell that with new players when I'm teaching them and I'm doing, no nate, and eventually I say, think about it, 2 minutes, no nate or something on Ballroom, whatever the handicap is, and I tell them, aren't I going to have to move around a lot? Who's
Right,
moving
and
around a
then
lot?
you time out 6 times in the very next game, and then you say,
Because
never listen to your opponent. That's the second
right.
lesson.
A second lesson. Yes, I'm a total jerk about it, of course. But there's a lesson there, I think, even for high-level players, frankly, which is, when in doubt, activity is a tell.
It
Little
is
bit.
true. It is.
We missed the pad there for
Ooh.
a second, and we recover. And this game is looking really bad. Sauerkraut, I'll remind you, needs to win this and the next one. Next one a lot easier, especially given that we are highlight for a bug attempt, we think. Seduce is done. There's a minute and a half left, just a little more than that, and we have made 2 potential mistakes.
Yeah, and I can't help but wonder. I wonder if that was just a missed pad because that was a useless conversation circle, or if we were trying to hide behind pillar and then noticed. Okay, yes, we were trying to hide behind pillar, but we're
Right,
toast.
second attempt, and that's going to do it. It's a green perlo and a walk away. We try to do it a second time after the first time fails. Martini's on it, and the comeback is dead, as is the spy. Martini moving on 9-6.
Well, a lot closer than we thought it was going to be, and also props to Sauerkraut for actually still putting pressure on at the end. We weren't playing meek the entire time. We were trying to do a stop, do that purloin. We failed the first time, and then just kept moving because, like we were talking about, sniper just moves around a lot. If they're not at a mission site, sometimes you just miss that they just miss the pad like that. But yeah, it just doesn't quite come together. I think that highlight after the bug was really the nail in coffin. But I mean, congrats for still actively playing and not letting fear take over and pushing it up to a 9-6 finish, which is not bad at all.
No, very respectable, especially given that 6-1 start. Really came back within 2 there. Very impressive comeback, but an even more impressive win for Martini, who I think most people would have had as, let's say, I said it up front, kind of a modest underdog, right? Not a big one, but Sauerkraut's had a little more competitive success. Martini more on the upswing, and that is not changing with this win here. They are on to the semifinals of the